So, being a contract manager, we need to be practical about things as well. We cannot be, yes, the contract gives us a guideline, it is a framework, but if you are going to be basing every single thing in the contract without any common sense or any practical sense from the team, then it's just going to make everybody to be on a very adversarial relationship, and you don't want that. See?
Mm.
Okay, so I think you can add in
Okay.
a little bit on that. Uh-huh.
Okay.
Other than that, I think it's fine.
Okay. Thank you. How about the payment one? That one I'm not too sure for the payment one.
You should talk about the payment procedures and how you're supposed to pay. You are like coming in from a perspective of all the responsibilities of the contractor, about penalty, about performance bond, but you didn't talk about so you did talk about the payment terms, okay? But the
Yeah.
payment terms should be the focus, not the other things, okay?
Payment terms should be focused.
Mm. You started off talking about things like um, the performance bond
Uh-huh.
and also the penalty, okay? But you didn't talk about the payment term. This assignment is more on the payment. What is the payment like? How are you
Mm.
going to pay? What is the responsibility of you as the client? How are you paying the contractor? What procedures do you follow?
Okay.
Uh, so all the steps for invoicing and all that, you need to talk about that. Okay. And then
It's mentioned in the
yeah, I mean I saw it
after you.
because you put all these things after you talk about penalty and all these things, you see, so your focus is wrong already.
Okay, understand.
Yeah. So meaning that is there is there uh is there any point in time that the contractor wasn't sure or they didn't submit that or they didn't do anything here that caused them to have late payment? Or are you saying that, oh, okay, now the proposal to overcome here, this is more on like, how do you see these payment procedures? Was there any issues on these payment procedures?
Mm. I think for me it's like I feel the people that manage the payment they have to really know the timesheet, like the clock-in time, the downtime. So if they don't have those data, then it's very hard for them to actually make the payment or do deduction.
Meaning that the contractor did not submit the supporting documents properly, is it?
Because the inside the contract it says that the hirer we will actually cross-check with the documents that the contractor give. So for example, if on our side we're not actually having the correct data, means that it's gonna hinder the payment processes.
Then that could be issues of that could be part of the issues of. So based on these procedures, you need to describe the issues a little bit more. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And now how are you going to overcome the issues? So you have to be very specific that the contractor will submit all these things, and then
Mm-hmm.
once they got it, they must have all these items ready.
Mm-hmm.
And now your team, then the problem actually crops up because your team does not really keep a proper record, and that causes
Mm.
delay in payment. And how many times was there a delay in payment, and how was that in the end resolved? You see?
Mm. The pay.
So I think, yeah, I mean, like it's a good start. It's a good start, but yeah, like I said, there's a few area the focus is a bit out. It should be on the payment terms. And
Okay.
if those penalty and performance bond and all that is not an issue in your project, then you don't even need to put it there.
Okay. Understand.
These particular issues is mainly on uh, both sides trying to follow the procedures carefully, and it was from the hirer side, it wasn't being did you guys do a proper job, or did they, or did the contractor submit a proper job? You see, I mean, like, they submit a proper thing. Did they follow the procedures, and did you guys follow the procedures, and where was the issue? See? So maybe you should describe the issues first, then saying that, you know, there was a few delays in payment due to supporting verification not being carried out properly. Okay. And then describe, you know, in the contract, the payment terms is supposed to be like this, like this, like this. This is in the contract.
Okay.
Then how do you want to overcome this issue? So in the contract itself, it states that the contractor must do this, the client must do this, but for your side, there was short of doing this, and that should be rectified, you know, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, understand.
Yeah, you're almost done already, I suppose. Yeah. Case 3, 4, all done already, huh? All right. Who else? Next one.
Thank you, doctor.
No problem. Fazana or Amalina or Riley or Clarence. Clarence, you haven't shown me much of anything. Victor, last week after you showed me, I think you are kind of on the right track already. Just hopefully your writing will be as right as possible. Like, you know, your framework is right already. The approach is right already. Okay?
Okay, doctor.
But do you have anything you want to show me, Victor?
For the payment term, maybe I need to share the screen for this one.
Can. So we go for Victor first, and then after that, who else want to share? We will line up ourselves like this first, huh? Parents,
I can share, doctor.
Let parents do it first, because I haven't seen much of his work. After that, we follow by Amalina, huh?
Okay, thank you, doctor.
Can see, So this one is regarding the payment case study lah. So I'm going to use Dayang and Shell contract, and then in the background I'll talk about the payment process lah, reporting and then checking by company side representative, then talking about completion cert, closure, contract closure, contract cert, and also invoice in dispute. So
hold on. Your payment processes, you should be describing it under your relevant clauses.
okay,
Not in your description of your project. So
Okay.
meaning that you either describe the problem, okay, it's about late payment now. So you as a contractor, you always receive late payment, for example. And the reason for the late payment was due to contradiction among the report, okay? And now you take the clauses into consideration. So you need to write about what the clauses, which clauses are applicable, and then you describe the payment processes according to the clauses available.
Okay. On the relevant clauses, I will focus on dispute and invoices lah. So this is
Okay, dispute and invoices. Okay. Is that all? Is there any payment procedures or any payment terms and all that in your payment clauses?
there's some clause for example checking work done within 14 days. There's some clause lah.
Then you should have put it down. You cannot just focus on two clauses like that, because your issue is a whole procedural issues on payment.
Okay.
For the relevant clauses, and then describe those payment processes according to those clauses, what is stated in those clauses. So that payment process is not about generally on site, we're doing this, that, you know, it has to be in accordance to your clauses.
Okay.
Okay.
So I need to
reporting, and then if your clauses says reporting, what was the thing that you need to put in reporting? Then, you know, like it's like this contract You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Whatever is stated in a contract, and then practically how it's done. Whatever is stated in a contract, practically how was it done? You see?
Okay.
How was it supposed to be done? And then your problem up there, your description of problem was there was something that you do here that is causing a problem, you see? And now with the relevant clauses and sections, okay, and the description of those obligations, then you actually can pinpoint that what is the issue. You see, what was the this problem actually caused by maybe some of the steps here not done. Okay, then follow in and talk about how it should have been done, you see, in the proposal to overcome.
Okay. So to relate the clause with the problem lah. Okay.
Yes, correct. So if your problem is about people not submitting the document, then it should be those or the document submitting not tallying. So how does your clauses address those issues? You see? You always receive payment late. So how does your clauses also address those issues? The clauses in the issues, so it's supposed to be how many days, all stated already, you see? But then people are not following that, you see?
Okay.
So what sort of actions would you take based on the clauses and based on common sense and also practicality lah? Yeah.
Okay. So regarding this dispute also I need to explain also, right, Doctor? Because
Are you disputing the payment?
once they identify the problem which is report contradict, and then they need to provide the letter this letter lah, letter of claim, and then they need to provide all this and then will held action meeting lah to solve this issue lah.
Okay, so it is written in the contract lah, kan?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is it's not dispute lah. It's basically dispute is actually another separate thing in contract, you see? So this is more like having some sort of discrepancy, and how do you address the discrepancies, you see? It's not as serious as dispute lah, huh?
Okay.
So maybe you don't use the word dispute, but is it used in the word in the contract as dispute, or just discrepancies in the claim, you know? What are the contract punya word?
Contract punya word.
Because if it's a real issue on dispute, right?
I think it's dispute. Let me check that, Doctor.
Because if it's a big issues on dispute and resolving of dispute to arbitration and all that one is proper dispute. But in your case, are you bringing your honor, or is the honor and the Daya and Shah, are they going into a dispute to arbitration? If it's not, then this clause would not apply lah. But if it's just how do you handle the discrepancies? Like party A says that I've done this much, and party B says that no, you have not done this much. It's just like what Amira punya issue just sounds the same thing. You see? So it's like different lah, you know, like whatever our document is and your document is different, you see?
Okay.
And that at the end of the day affect the amount of payment being issued, and it also affect it also delay the payment time, see? So as long as your flow, you just have to remember your flow is from the description of the problem, okay, how the problem come about, and what was the problem, and what does it lead to, you know? These are the few things that we will do in description of the problem itself. Then after that, what are the relevant clauses, and what does the relevant clauses says about resolving such an issues? Okay, then your last week is how do you use those clauses to address those issues that you have spoken about?
Okay. So I think that's it for me lah. Then proposal, this is only we'll use DPR in if there is any discrepancy lah.
Okay, so basically, okay, so in the event of contradiction among the report, okay, DPR should be taken into, they used to say that according to your contract, which clause, DPR should be taken into precedence. Then you need to talk about practically what does the engineers do with it. That would mean that they need to look at all the DPR report for that period of time that is under discrepancy lah.
Okay. Okay.
And then after you look at the DPR, so if the DPR says what, what was supposed to be done, okay, so then maybe that will be related to another clause already, that after you already settle or agree upon a DPR, then what do you do, you see?
Okay.
In the
Okay.
end, how was the issue resolved in terms of contractually and practically lah? And sometimes you guys can even write about circumstances whereby DPR is for the client, and then what would you as a contractor, I mean, like if you are as a supervisor's guy or as a SO, how do you tell the supervisors, I mean, how do you tell the contractor that their record is incorrect, Some of this can come from always remember the assignment is about contract first, and then the practical things, the common sense things, the things that you do to help, and all that can come a little bit later after you talk about the contractual things, contractual step.
Okay. I think this is for me. I think I need to give time to others lah.
No problem, because I'm also concerned about your assignments and everybody's, because some of them has already been sending me assignments to read, so some of them are actually trying to be perfect, okay? So it's okay. But some of you guys are like Master entirely like very song macam itu, like Zainuddin. I haven't seen him for like don't know how long already. Every time he come to class, I notice that he just appear and then he disappear. And then I haven't seen any of his assignment yet at the moment. And I haven't seen any writing from him at all. Okay. So I am more worried about people like Zainuddin, Clarence. Yeah, I think the rest of the other few, like Victor, you are half, you have been showing me, but a lot of your work are actually very, very point form. I haven't seen a proper writing yet from you all.
Okay.
Right, so Clarence, you want to go first? After that, we go for Amalina. And then Zainuddin, what about you? He's using his handphone, so I think he has nothing to show me again this morning. Yeah, looks like he's here spiritually, but not physically.
Hello, Doctor.
After Amalina, maybe who else wants to do? Riley or Fazana?
Riley, me.
Doctor. Fazana, doctor.
Riley. Okay. All right.
Okay. Riley, I heard Riley's voice first, okay?
Okay, thank you.
So Natia, I wasn't looking for you. I'm looking for Zainuddin. You are fine already. You are just trying to be more perfect with your work. You are not in the danger region, okay? Right, like okay, now after Clarence, we go for Amalina and then Riley and Fazana. Okay.
Hello, Doctor. Morning.
Morning, Clarence.
Okay. This is case study number 3 because number 1 is you already see it before this.
The introduction is introduction. Introduction is just what this what this issues is, what these general things is all about. Okay, and then you don't use number one introduction, number 1.1 also introduction. So if it's the background, just put the background of the project, and then don't use the word background to the project to build concrete bridge, blah 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 blah. You know?
Okay.
Nobody write title so long one, Okay, so
No.
it is a bridge project that you're looking at. Can you go down? The titling, what I mean is the title has some problem,
Okay.
Go down. Yes, it's about the bridge. Yes,
Mm.
this is contract particular, that's fine. Go down. And now the problem statement, okay, what you consider as problem statement. So
Mm.
this is about approve this. Okay, and then okay, now your problem statement. What do you mean by notably failing to meet the soil department's codes and standards? So what is it that didn't meet the standard? Was it the concreting? Was it the, you say this is a bit too general here already.
Okay. So need to state it on this paragraph lah. Okay.
Yes, you don't need to go for big things. It's a very small thing also can. So for example, concrete test cube, not the test report comes back, the concrete is not according to the standard, or the report supposed to be coming up to be it needs to be grade 35 or 40 kind of concrete, but then the test cube says that it's actually only 25, you see? So that shows non-compliances. This is an example. You don't have to use test cube. It can be anything here. It can be piling, it can be test cube, it can be slump test, it can be fluidity test or whatever it is, to concrete or mixed test, whatever. But you have to be very specific. You cannot just say the problem in like 2 sentences like this. Oh, it doesn't. The whole project notably failing. Wow, that means the whole thing. That means if like that, you need to give me a 50 page, because otherwise, what is notably failing? Meaning that you're talking about many issues here that are failing. You see.
But I already mentioned that regarding the cube test failure, Doctor.
Where did you mention the cube test?
The two relevant section, cost and contract. This one.
No. This one should be in the problem, not in the section of the clauses. Okay.
Oh, so just mean okay.
So this contract was awarded to EDT company, and then this EDT company has carried out the job, and then after that it was found the test kit doesn't meet the requirement, and this is the testing report produced, and the specification was like this, but then the test kit was like this. So now there is a non-compliance, and now what does the contract do about the non-compliance? So your relevant section, you move down, okay? You move down to section 2. These things should be all in the problem, not in the relevant. These are not in your contract clauses, Clarence.
Oh, okay.
So now you move down. What is the section in the contract clauses? Okay, so these are the contract clauses, okay? So clauses 7.2, all materials, workmanship should be the best or whatever. Contractors shall, upon request, or furnish the voucher manufacturer test report to be tested. Okay, so now supervisor right to be testing. Okay, so now how? You only write the clause, but did you describe the clause?
Okay.
So you need to describe the clause. What does the clause say about this? So it means that the contractor is asked to test. And then now, how does any of the clauses deal with non-compliances?
Okay.
Cost of test also, it should be under. You see, you don't really get the picture. That's what I feel. Like what you're writing is you're just like, oh, I'm putting something here, I'm putting something there, so that every section I have got something, macam itu, It's not like that. When we talk about all the clauses, all the relevant clauses, like all these JKR 7.7, 7.2, if it's relevant to your to your problem, then you talk about all that under that section 2 first, you see.
Okay. Then need to elaborate, Doctor.
And elaborate with the rights and obligations, so if you want to.
Okay, no problem.
So now after going through all the clauses and the relevant clauses, and that was supposed to be the testing, the SO did request for testing, and then it was done, and then it was found wrong. Okay, so what is it that the clauses says, you see?
Yeah, okay.
Then it's about how to overcome the issue, lor. Yeah.
Okay.
Your issue is not about solution method or go and redo it or whatever. Now I want you to tell me that after these non-compliances, what does the SO do? Do they have the, according to the contract, do they have the right to reject? Or did they call for a strengthening? Or what did they ask to do? From the contract, what is their rights as an employer and as a SO when they're faced with this non-compliance, you see?
Yeah.
You just imagine you give me all these clauses, 7277, but then suddenly your solution is something else. Your solution is about, you go to your solution, go down, scroll down. Then your solution is about sampling again. This is a practical, this is a lab kind of solution. But where is the contractual solution, you see? According to the contract, what can the SO do when the is notably failing, you see? You say it's notably failing. So how? Can we ask the contractor to knock off everything? Again, with this sort of assignments, with this way of writing, definitely you only get a 50 out of 10, 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10 maximum. Why? Because you are not answering my question. You see, my question is you have a problem, and this problem can be addressed contractually. What are the contractual clauses that are relevant? And then how do you end up resolving this issue? How are you supposed to be resolving these issues? Based on the contract, it's like this. But practically, because it's already been built, we actually ask the contractor to do this, you see?
Okay. So mean that every solution based on the contract.
Yes.
Okay.
Solution has to be based on contract. Everybody, I remind you guys again and again, everything, the solution has to be contractual based, followed by practical and common sense based kind of solution, technical solution.
Okay.
Understand? That's why you see, for Amira, just now you are writing mainly on the contractual solution, which is wonderful. This is what I want to see. But then I think it would be nice if we can add in some practical solution. But most people like Natia, like Clarence, like Victor just now, and who else have I seen this morning? Yeah, your solutions are very, very like non-related, nothing related to your contract, then what's the point of this assignment if then I might as well get you to attend a concrete class or a technical resolving class or dispute resolution class or something like that, not a contract
General
class.
answer. General answer, is it?
Understand, Clarence?
Understand.
So basically, I think you are macam like you know what to do a little bit, but then you macam tidak dapat put it together in a nice way lah, you know.
Yeah, understood betul. Because I think that the solution answer not refer to the contract.
Yes. Like this one, okay, very responsible because this is good because this one, the company, now the test comes back and then you need to retest because they fell gun. So this test has to be fully, so according to the contract, which closed, this test will be, the further testing will be fully borne by the contractor. Correct. Tick. I will give you a tick here. You see, this is contractual solution. Okay. Then after that, let's say, now that the contractor says that the test is actually doesn't really, it fell, but then it's not that bad, like macam only like 10% out or something like that, and then they want to call for a retest, then maybe it's this one. But then if let's say they dispute or they feel like the test report is cannot be followed, macam tu, then you want to appoint a third party, but you said appoint a third party anyway in the contract that allows you to appoint a third party should the test fail. Maybe because the test wasn't carried out professionally, you see. So you were worried that maybe it's just the contractor themselves simply do a test, you see. We want to appoint a neutral, you want to appoint a technical, not a third party. Third party are usually like macam you are in dispute, so you got a third party to come in and try to be neutral here. But let's say you're not doing a good test cube, so you want a proper lab to do a test cube, a specialist to do a test cube, then it has to be appointment of a specialist to carry out the test.
So this means that is call it random check lah, Doctor.
Sorry?
Random check only lah, not need to the appointed the third party.
If let's say, so
Cross
as the
check.
contract says about this, you see, so basically you want to do a random check, then you want to get a specialist consultant to do a specialist concrete person to do a test. Then it's like what we call an appointment of a third party or a third party lab or a third party specialist lah, to carry out the work. But
so no need to appointed lah. No, so this means no need to appointed lah. Just go through random check lah.
No, the thing is, my question is my question again is, if random, not random, a full check also can.
Okay.
The solution is not about the random check. The solution is which part of the contract tells you that you can ask a third party to do a check, you see?
Yeah. Okay.
The concern is the contract, bukan dia punya. This is a practical solution, which I agree also. Tapi, as a contractor, when I want to go and fight for this thing, I need to know which part of the contract that allows me to do that, you see?
Yeah. So, still refer to contracts again, sir.
Correct. The contract doesn't say that. Let's say if you feel like the contract did not address all these things at all, God says that the contract does not have anything like this, you see, but in practice, we can do this, you see?
Yeah.
Then you baru link the contract with practical, ma. So it's like, ladies and gentlemen, it's not like Dr. Ting is saying that everything has to be contract. No, contract don't write that kind of thing. Boleh. You boleh write. If the contract don't say it, you just tell us that there's no coverage in the contract. But in the industry standard, because remember, I say this many times, even though you have a standard form, even though you have a contract, but a contract is based on the principle of natural justice. Even though it's not stated in the contract, does not mean that there is no implied way of resolving these issues, meaning that we can do this for internet for this like external, like in terms of industry standard, we can do certain things, you see, and it's also acceptable because of implied. So not everything have to be fully clearly like one is it's not like everything is black or white, you see. as much as possible, your answer is based on the black and white of the contract. But if it's not being put in the contract at all, which is very, very possible because many contracts are drafted by the client themselves or client representative. The PWD is definitely client-based, you see. So of course they don't write things like that will put themselves at a disadvantage, but does not mean that the contractor matilah macam tu, you know.
Ya, buat dia sendiri ya.
There are also industry standards or industry methods that you can follow, and that is also reasonable in resolving this solution. Tapi it must be proposed by the contractor, you see, or this additional testing or additional work. So your method is to actually propose, you see, a third-party testing and subject to the agreement of the SO or subjected to the approval of the client with the results that is given. You see, so that is a practical solution. The practical solution can be carried out, okay? But then you have to first of all address the fact that it has not been fully covered, or the specific clauses does not cover this third-party testing or additional testing or whatever, you see. This is about how smart you are, lah, you know, like how pandai-pandai, lah, you know, that you write, lah. So mainly you base it on contract first. But this here, cost monitoring work, you see, this obviously to me, it is not a contractual solution. This is a management solution, a QA, QC solution. In the future, you have to do this daily monitoring. But how is this related to your contract? Because the problem is already there. You know, you need to resolve this problem of this part of the work is not according to standard. Test keep fail, you see. So don't talk about future when you can't even solve the problem right in front of your eyes now. Any future work monitoring has to be, again, this is maybe the last paragraph in your whole thing that, okay, in the future, we hope that, you know, this monitoring work can be better carried out, you know, before the pouring or whatever. That is a very QA, QC kind of answer, lah, which is not addressed in the contract at all, you see. Understand or not, you guys, it has to be, like I said, first and foremost, the purpose of this course, the purpose of this assignments is to get you to be contractually aware of what is there. And then when you do your solution as an engineer, you need to administer according to the contract. So when there is nothing stated in the contract to help you to address those issues, you can actually make a proposal to use a very industry kind of standards, a technical industry standards in order to resolve those issues. But again, that is only if the contract does not provide for any solution at all, you see. So Clarence, you know, mainly all your 4 solutions here.
Yeah.
Basically, I can't see any one of them except for number 2 or maybe number 3 is macam a bit based on contract lah, but tapi not clear also lah, huh?
Number 4 is not. How about number 4, betul?
Number 4 definitely is nothing to in the contract lah, unless you have something in the contract that says that this problem can be solved with cost monitoring work.
Okay. So this means take it out from the solution, okay.
This one is mainly only in the future. Just be more closely monitoring. It's just like macam a closure to your assignment only lah. Dia bukan, because you have to know your problem is your concrete already failed, see?
Oh, yeah, understood.
You focus on your problem. Don't go and talk about future, you see?
Yeah. So far.
Okay. This
Yeah.
solution Number 4, macam like you are gorenging lah, you know, like want to fill up the pages, that kind of feeling. Yeah, goreng boleh, tapi goreng bukan the main bukan the main thing lah kan. All right, I think, yeah, I mean, like, we can see where everybody's problem is. A lot of you are like, again, so far, what I've seen is Amira is the one that go for more contractual solution, but then she doesn't really have any practical solution. But everyone else is having very, very practical solution. I will manage it like this. In the future, I will manage it like this. But then you didn't say, what does the contract says about it? And it's like, can you imagine and if you are me as a lecturer, I give you an assignment on resolving problems within contract, but then you give me all the contract clauses, and then you give me solution that is non-contract clauses. Like, does it make sense to you?
A bit disappointed lah. Yeah, that's okay. That's all from me.
At least kita tahu where the problem is lah kan, you know?
Yeah. As long as I know which the part I need to rewrite again.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also remember your title, your titling and introduction can be just like what is non-compliance, what is quality issues, non-compliance, general things, and then the background of the project. Background is background, who is the contractor, who is the client, who is the what is the particulars, you know? And then problem is the problem, what actually happened. Describe the problem. All your testing report you can put there, you see?
Yeah. Understood.
Then the clauses is the clauses, and you describe the clauses in terms of rights and obligations, okay? Then after that, you talk about, okay, these are the clauses that are relevant to these particular issues. Now, using these clauses, I'm going to solve my problem, you see? All right, Clarence, you're done, Clarence. Next one coming up, Amalina, yes.
Doctor, can you see my screen?
I can, yes.
Okay. So for case study 3, I'm still using the same case study I used in the first and second case study regarding the roadworks construction. So the issue in this the contractual issue in this project was that towards the end of the after the completion of the works, according to the contract, there should be testing and commissioning works to be done in order to ensure that the works have been delivered according to the contract document. However, towards the during the testing works, there were some settlements and cracks on the surface of the road in some parts of the area. But it's not a major defect. It's a patent defect that is visible and has to be remedied by the contractor before all the certification is given out. So the clauses involved are 2: completion of works. It is according to the contract, is upon completion of works, the contractor should submit a notice to the SO to mention that their works have completed, and within 14 days, the inspection or testing works have to be done by the by the SO to check whether all the works have been done accordingly. And one of those is to ensure that the works can be delivered or handed back to the client, and all defects have been remedied. So for the defects, it can be a patent defect or latent defect. So in this issue, it is a patent defect which it is visible and should be remedied before according to the SO, the cost of the the cost of the cost of the cracks or settlements may be due to the improper laying works and compaction of layers during the road construction.
Yep.
So the SO justified that 70% of the works are okay, but the 30% of the works have to be remedied since it is between the defects liability period, which is still under the main contractor's obligation. The SO has given the contractor 21 days to complete all the remaining 30% of works that have not completed.
Right.
Therefore, they have completed on the 14th day, 7 days earlier than the actual time given for the remedial works to be completed. When they have remedied the work on the 14th day, the client has gone for another testing and commissioning, and he agreed that the works have been delivered successfully.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay,
the
so
description of the problem is quite clear. So what about the closest relevant? You have to talk about the closest relevant.
it's the clause completion of works and defects.
Really, because when we talk about when you talk about this thing here, it's more like non-compliances. I want you to concentrate on non-compliances. It's nothing to do with CPC or it's just basically one of the things that can happen at any time. Just because it happens at the end of the project does not mean that these are the relevant clauses applicable, you see. So
Okay.
I think more on upon inspection, upon testing and commissioning, because there's no issues regarding whether the issue CPC or not, you see. So it's more like that defect has to be repaired. So I think the relevant clauses are not these two relevant clauses.
Oh, okay.
The relevant clauses should be dealing with material guard or workmanship guard or something like that, and then the SO provide instructions to carry out the work and within how many days. These are the important points of NCR, not defect liability period
Oh, okay.
and completion of work. I think you are on the wrong clauses completely. Yeah.
Okay. So so it should be on the inspection of materials from PWD, right, Doctor?
It should be starting from maybe material scar, machinery scar, plant scar, equipment now, whatever. Then it was stated
okay.
that there is a problem, or if there is a problem. Defects here, because you see, clause 48 is about those defects that is like maybe during the defect liability period, that kind of defects, you see.
Mm.
When we talk about non-compliance, it's about things like not fulfilling the technical specification.
Oh, okay. Oh, so the issue before the CPC, right, Doctor?
This doesn't matter whether it happens during CPC or before CPC or after CPC. So no matter what, basically, your issue is not CPC. Your issue here, if the contractor are like, there's a dispute that they refuse to give you CPC because the work is badly done. You see,
Yes.
then you say that the work is done, and then they say that the work is not done. That is issue with CPC. You see.
Okay. Yes.
But
Sure.
here, obviously, you also cannot say that your work is done because there is an obvious crack of obvious defects here that that shows workmanship problem.
Okay.
Problem, you see.
Okay.
So then we are looking at how to deal with this, not how to deal with CPC or defect liability period. You see.
Okay. Okay. So I will recorrect the clauses and the clauses for this
Your focus of this part of your assignment is a bit off well. Yeah.
Okay. So for the suggested
non-compliances, yeah.
Okay. For the suggested proposal, as it is roadworks construction. Hello.
Very technical again. Nothing to do with dealing with non-compliance.
Because I use the wrong clause, so I might have used the wrong proposal as well.
No, even though your proposal, you see, even though no matter what clauses that you use, your solution here is a technical solution. How to resolve it. It's not a solution.
Okay. So
Understand? And so it's not a contractor's solution. If you put this, whatever clauses you write up there, also no use because your whole thing here does not follow your code.
okay.
Ah.
So I will recorrect the clauses that I used.
Yeah, and then the solution has to be referring back to the clauses. So upon receiving the non-compliance report, what does the contractor need to do? Okay, the contractor needs to carry
Okay.
out within 21 days. That is a contractor solution, you see. And according to that particular instructions, you see, and then from there, he did some of these things that you're writing here, that is technically, practically you can add in a little bit. So upon finishing it, what does the contractor now need to do? Need to write in? Is it? Does the does he request for another inspection?
Okay.
If he requests for another inspection, how does the contract address that? See, if the contract think that he must request for another inspection before a full consent is given.
Okay. Alright, doctor.
Okay, so it's again, this is a very typical, like what Clarence is doing, like what Natia is doing. You're going to, because like, I think you all engineers, your mentality is, oh, I got a problem here, I need to solve the problem. Okay, your focus here is a contractual problem. You see, you need to solve it contractually. But the mistakes that you do, I practically is wrong. Whatever that your technical solution, management solution, semua tu betul, tapi dia bukan what we want from this particular assignment.
Okay, doctor.
You see, if you look at Amira's assignment, she's saying that, okay, in order to resolve these issues, we will apply this particular clause, and this clause will get the contractor to do this, and the contractor will, the contractor has done this, was supposed to have done this, Like, so should have done this, and then the contract, what her part is she didn't write. What did they do? You see, then she focused on the contract, which is right, which is the right way. But then also it'd be nice in some of the things that you guys are writing here, like the technical part of how to resolve the issues, you see, but it has to be follow on from your contractual solution.
Okay. All right, doctor. Thank you, doctor.
Thank you. Okay, Riley of Azana. Siapa dapat?
I'm going to share my screen. Wait, Can you hear me?
Can.
Okay. So this is my. So basically, this is my case study number 3, which is related to the non-compliance with the quality project. So this is just a brief about the contract particulars. I'm using the property improvement at Tanjung Kidorong, and then project brief 12 kilometer, and then the background of the project, which is included the provision, maintenance, and rehabilitation of the existing road pavement. This is actually very general, doctor. And then explain on the project.
The other day, your flow has no problem, right? Riley, just go down to your.
Okay. So this is the basic general for the related contractual issues. So I explain using the JICA form of contract, and then the first one is quality of materials workmanship, which related to the clause 7 of FOC. The one is for the non-compliance, and then the second case study is on the payment issue, which is related to the clause 33 interim certificates.
Hold on. You already jumped to your relevant clauses. Where is the problem,
Wait. I will scroll down. Problem is at the after this.
It's supposed to be problem first and then the related contractual issues. The balik sudah.
Doctor, this is basically a general related contractual issue, and then this is so this is the problem lah.
No, you should talk about the non-compliance first.
Okay.
You need to talk about the problem first before you talk about the related clauses that is needed to address this particular problem, not the other way around.
Doctor, this is the related clause after the problem. This is the related clause.
Then you don't have to have that section anymore.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay. So this is the problem, which is the non-compliance for construction material, which is on the geotextile. So I explained what really happens lah. Geotextile provider was not comply as specified in the contract. And then the contractor also failed to provide statement of quality and certification. This is related to the contract document. Then also that the contractor provided the construction material which is not a Malaysian origin. So basically, it's actually activated two clauses on the quality. So this brief explanation on what happens during the non-compliance. Consultant raised the issue to the employer when receiving the lab test, and then however it was noted that the manufacturer report that elongation value is basically for the geotextile testing, and then we move to the clause of contract and contractual obligation. So basically we do have three types of clauses, which is on the FOC, which is clause 7.2, quality of materials. From the SPA is in the contract document, in the section 1 for lab test, and then section 3 for the geotextile specification, and then also the JKRS SSRW, which is normally in the standard specification, falls under clause 1.7, use of local materials. So basically these are the three clauses that related to the problem above lah, Doctor. This one I haven't explained in detail lah. Yeah.
But no, what I'm more concerned is you wrote full specifications and all that. You have to make sure that these are also part of the contract.
Okay.
Like, did you guys put in, like, you cannot just say that simply say that supposed to be this applicable of this particular application, SPA application. Like, is this SPA application part of your original contract?
Yes.
I think you have to be very clear. As part of your contract documents, these are the list of documents. You better put it down since you are referring to things outside.
Okay.
So this, you see, contractual clauses are contractual clauses. You are referring to external specifications. These are not your clauses.
Okay.
It's just that if you're referring to drawings, then you need to put drawings. The JKR SFOC inside here does not have this SPA and JKR SFRW standard specification. These are just another set of documents that are interrelated to your
problem.
Documents, you see?
Okay.
So you have to be more careful in terms of writing. Get yourself the list of documents first before you specify. So the actual contract clauses that are applicable is only 7.2.
Yes. But Doctor, just a question lah. Basically because we do have the SPA, which is part of the contract document, right? So if I relate this section with the problem, it's still fine, right?
Don't put it under clauses. You put it under clause 7.2, quality of material, referring to, later on you need to write in your description there, referring to two different specifications.
Okay.
You see the flow? Okay.
Yeah. All right. But all of these clauses related lah, can be used in the right.
Saying that it's not related, Riley. The main thing is these are not clauses. You are putting it under clauses.
Okay.
Clauses is contract clauses. Like standard form clauses, terms and agreement. These are the specification. These are considered as spec. You don't put your drawing as a contract clause, right? So you understand what I'm trying to say here?
Yes, correct. Okay.
Your 3.4.1 is clauses of a contract. And then you say that your section 1, section 3 are clauses, you see? They are not clauses. They are just specification that the contract clauses refer to. Just that the contract clauses will refer to drawings and specification.
Okay.
So you don't put it together. You don't
Mm-mm,
put it
yeah.
under the same clauses. You can have it there, but then you must write that these are the specification that will be referred to. In
Okay.
fact, I would have preferred if you put these two things under the problem, not under the clauses. Like let's say up there, you say that the geotextile material is not of project requirement, and the project requirement is actually specified in the where, you know, section
Mm-mm.
1, section 3, you see, these are the
Yep.
sections. These two things here, belakang dua ini, is actually up there with the project requirement.
Okay.
So it doesn't meet that project requirement lah, kan?
Yes, correct. Oh, okay.
So they should be under project requirement, not under clauses.
So basically, I will differentiate these two things lah, clauses and the project requirement. Okay. Noted.
Yes.
Okay.
Go on.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. So this is actually just a brief solution and mitigation measure which I relate to the clause of FOC. So this is the point lah. But I will explain in detail lah.
You say the clause 7.3, 7.6, 7.7, but then up there you only say 7.2.
7.2 is the related clause that relate with the problem, and then for the mitigation plan, I relate with the 7.3, which is the cost and this is the sample. They all have to call for the submission of sample, and also 7.7, the cost of test. All the the cost will be bear by the contractor, and we remind them that any defects that be done by them, we have SO have to strongly stated that the cost will be borne by them lah, the contractor. So that is the whole idea.
Wrong. 7.3, 7.6, 7.7, everything has to be put in the clauses that are relevant. You suddenly have a mitigation plan that is not related to your clause, you see?
Okay.
Why? Does it make sense to you? I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. Okay, so you say that these are the whole 7.3, 7.6, 7.7 are the clauses that are relevant to the solution.
Okay.
You mean that you've got problems that are relevant, the clauses are relevant to the problem, they are all related.
Okay.
So you need to describe 7.2, 7.3, 7.6, 7.7. It has to be described properly in the relevant section and clauses. And then take it as a solution. These are the solutions that refer to these clauses, you see? How can you not have that in your relevant clauses and suddenly it appears in your solution?
Oh, okay. I should put it put under relevant clause above.
You need to describe 7.3, also 7.6 also properly. And then in your case, how did you execute this 7.2 to 7.7?
Okay.
In order to resolve the problem, you see?
Oh, okay. Understood, Doctor. Okay.
And then after that, you can provide maybe some practical, a little bit of practical solution, you know? I think your writing, especially the solution, all these you have a lot of point form. Need to describe things a little bit more, huh?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so I think I'm surprised that there's still a bit of confusion here, because last week I thought it was very clear already with your work. Maybe with this one, you start to get confused.
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, because specification, drawings, BQ, they are all part of contract documents, but contractually, you need to follow the terms and conditions of the contract. And terms and conditions are the things that is in the JKR as the form of contract lah. So that one is the contract clauses. So when you write about relevant contract clauses, you focus on relevant contract clauses. I think it's better you put the specification and how the contractor did not meet the specification. So it's like showing that specification says this, but the contractor did this. So therefore, there is a non-compliance. Then it's very clear, you see, where the problem is. And now with that problem, how did you resolve it using the contract clauses, which is related to 7.2, 7.3, 7.7, 7.6, you know?
Okay.
Yeah, you need to include it over there.
Okay, Doctor, noted. Yeah, I think confusion due to a lot of clauses. Anyway, I will amend this and then we'll explain in detail of the solution.
Yeah, so you don't lari, suddenly, you know, like suddenly your format becomes clauses that are relevant to solution, clauses that are relevant to problem, and they are not related to one another at all, you know.
Okay, Doctor. Okay, I think I think the self-admin payment I have yet to include in this writing lah.
Can just proceed first, huh?
Okay.
I think next
So-
week we still do one more assignment classes. You can do one more assignment classes. And after that, then you can hand it in. Maybe I can delay it a little bit lah. Maybe up to second before Raya lah. I'm sure none of you want to bring your assignment into your Raya holiday. So yeah, you can do that. Maybe next week, 30th, we still can have another assignment discussion before you finalize everything to be handed in. I will change the date maybe to the second May. Then you just hand in lah.
Okay. Doctor, just a question. Can I submit my report to my full report to you by next week?
And if you want to
Yeah.
earlier, can lah.
Okay, for you to check review. Okay. Thank you, Doctor.
For me to check, yeah, you can send it to me by next week, Monday and Tuesday. I'm very packed. After Thursday onwards should be fine. Yeah, but Thursday onwards is already very close to our class already. We can discuss doing it class lah.
Oh, okay. I just submit lah. Alright.
Submit
Okay.
lah.
Okay, Doctor.
Albert, are you still here, Albert? I haven't seen you. Albert is missing again, He's really avoiding me, I think.
Dr. Ting, Albert has work. He said he already WhatsApp to you, so he unable to
Really?
join the class.
Cannot be always unable to join, you know. Later on he fell, then he tell me that he cannot join. Like, come on. Are these people giving up on their degree or something? I didn't receive any message from him. No.
From Albert, don't know.
No. I didn't receive any message. There's nothing in the group, students group. Yeah, like Zain, Albert, you know, you are the old people. These are the old people here already, you know, and then they are not like really doing anything. I haven't seen any of the assignments. I think I'm just going to be in for a short time. Never mind. Good also makes my life easier. I want to help, but then they don't want to help. So, no, I didn't get any message from him. Never mind. Even if he give me a message, I cannot say I excuse him from the class also. He's supposed to be attending classes. Because these people they are not coming to classes way too often already. Okay, Fazana, go ahead. Never mind. Yeah, we go for people who cares about their work, okay?
Say now.
Yeah, the other day you also messaged me, Fazana, and yeah, I already replied your RP, correct, huh?
Yeah. You told me to hand in another one tomorrow.
No, Monday lah.
And there. Okay. So, can you see my screen, Doctor?
Yeah.
Okay.
So just go to your problem. Tell me about your problem.
Okay, so the problem here is about the non-conformance report. So here the contractor, they did not follow the design drawings which is provided. So that's why the resident engineer, they issued out a non-conformance report.
Okay.
Okay, so this is the problem here I have mentioned.
If you
Okay.
have some pictures to
then-
show they didn't follow, it's even better lah, huh? Sometimes description like this can be quite.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, if you can show me that the dispute macam like they macam do something else, you know, and then the actual one was like this, you know, just overlap it. I think it would be
Oh,
nice.
can.
You know, just to give,
Okay, I will add the pictures lah.
yeah, just to show the non-compliances. Huh?
Okay, all right. Okay, so this is the relevant clause 7.8 based on JKR Sarawak form of contract. So this is the description where the resident engineer found out that the pipe support did not comply to the design criteria. So this is the clause 7.8 when the contractor cannot follow the design contract. So the SO can construct the contractor to maybe redo the work. So here in the non-conformance report, then the RE has mentioned that maybe the contractor have to redo their work lah because they cannot do anything to comply with that.
Very well written because you only describe the relevant clauses. Is there anything else that talks about non-compliances besides this clause? Like what about clauses about the contract SO giving instructions for non-compliances?
Is it this one, doctor? Because I see that macam nothing related to this except for this 7.8. That's why I only put 7.8 here.
Is there any clauses on workmanship or work method or something like that?
Maybe I can add on that one lah.
Is it
Because-
related to setting out? Did they do a proper setting out? That's another thing. Just pipeline, sometimes they didn't do it well. What was the reason of non-compliance? Why is it say that the drawings and the thing is different? How different is it? That's the thing I can't see from the report, you see.
Okay.
Not in accordance is what? Sizes not in accordance, piling not in accordance. What is not in accordance?
The non-accordance is because they did not provide the pipe support. They just put the pipe on the top of the piling. That's why. Yeah.
Okay, so that is a very, very obvious non-compliance, or
Yeah.
so meaning that this is definitely a workmanship discrepancies. No. This is not under discrepancies. I think it's more on workmanship. The workmanship, yeah.
Okay.
As or anything, recurring payment fee may instruct the contractor to do the following. Yeah, this is the solution already. This clause 7.8 is more of a solution. But I think we should also put in clauses that deals with inspections and all that.
Okay. All right. I will add on.
And then we found that there was non-compliances. Then from there, what kind of instructions that he can do to give to the, yeah, I mean, this should be correct, huh? Then
Okay.
what was the instructions given? What was the final instructions given? And did the contractor comply with the instructions? That one we didn't describe.
Because this project is still ongoing, doctor. The contractor already submit their proposed solution lah for this project, but then haven't been approved by the consultant yet.
Then you have to put in clauses that deals with counter proposal.
Okay.
Under designs of works.
I see. Okay.
Not very flowing, you see, the thing that you write. You're not considering the whole situation, you know.
I see. All right.
I mean, the feeling is, the way I see it's very like, you know, you say, oh, you give me a bit of information. I'm trying to imagine a lot of things, but I can't. So you need to give us the information, proper information. What was the problem, you see? Don't say that, did not comply. Did not comply with design criteria. You just read yourself. If you were me, how how do I read this? RE found that the pipe support did not comply with the design criteria. For me, the design criteria deals with the concrete, the rebars, piling, how many piles, the setting out. You see, that is the design criteria. So it can be not fulfilling any one of the design criteria. But now you tell me that they didn't even do it, you see. So that is not about not fulfilling the design criteria, it's the entire omission. It's an entire omission of work, you know. So the SO actually can go in many few directions. If it's not technically that one, then they should deduct the whole. They should have a variation to deduct the entire work out of the, out of the contract, because he didn't even do it. But if it's like something that is so critical, it must be there, then they didn't do it, then it will have to go into the direction of providing them with instructions to do certain things, you see.
Yeah.
Then you need to write in clauses with dealing with instructions already. So then the contractor's response, the contractor's response is to they acknowledge it lah, basically lah, and then they do a counter proposal lah.
Yeah. They already done that. Just waiting for the approval from the consultant. Yeah.
Yeah. So they really need to redo back in accordance. So is there any part of the clauses that says that it's their obligation to redo back or to repair or to rework or whatever? I think you need to search for clauses like that.
I see. Okay.
The counter proposal part, not necessarily the design will work, does not necessarily come into your how you write it lah. Maybe the relevant clauses, if we're talking about relevant clauses, how some people write it, they just put all the relevant clauses in, then that one can be part of it lah, but it looks a bit odd lah, you see. But if you write like whatever you're writing here is according to the flow of the solution, then it the flow of how this is being managed lah, then it also can be written like that lah. That means you need to write, okay, now the found out, then this clause apply, and then after this, then he did this, and then this clause apply, and then after that he do this, that clause apply. You know, macam tu also can, yeah.
Okay.
But try to have some synchronize between all your assignments. Don't one part like that, the other part like that. It's a bit hard to read. Style shouldn't differ too much.
Sorry, doctor?
The style of writing shouldn't differ too much from assignment to assignment.
Yeah. My other case study is following this style lah.
Okay.
Alright.
So yeah, I think you know your problem lah. So yeah, you didn't describe the problem fully enough for us to understand what are the relevant clauses that should be applicable.
I see. Okay, I will add on. Okay. So this is the solution to overcome the problems. So if based on the clause, this is the few solution which the contractor has submitted their proposed method to rectify the mistakes, and still waiting for the approval from the consultant. And then if the proposal does not approve, then the contractor has to redo back everything lah.
Yeah, I mean, like, try to refer to your clause more carefully lah, in that sense. Because I'm not sure whether your solution here is a very practical solution or is it a very contractual solution? I can't really tell.
If based on the clause 7.8, it mentioned that if
based on which clause these are the proposed solutions.
Oh, okay. All right. So in the solution, I have to mention about which clause related to the solution lah, doctor.
Definitely.
I see. Okay. All right.
Yeah, so I
So
think the main thing is you should start all your proposals to solution is more like in accordance with these clauses is available contractually, the contractor should do this, the consultant should do this, the SO should do this, the client should do this, and then after that, what are not covered, and if it's not covered, then what else can you do? Outside the contract, for example.
okay.
Then you don't go and write about if you really want to write about technical things, I mean, like if you really want to write about literature review, that sort of things, I think not the right location to write about this sort of things. If you really want to write about this sort of like your first paragraph here,
Yeah.
then you should be talking about that earlier on during the problem scar or during the I think should be writing during the problems if you want to, yeah, or introduction about workmanship. It looks a bit weird to put it here.
Okay.
Again, it's not a contractual solution. It's just about creativity,
Yeah.
about workmanship, about flow of workmanship kind of thing. Yeah.
Mm. Okay. So I think that's all from me, doctor. So this one is the summary. So I will add on the related clauses in the solution, and then some clauses I have to add on more in the related clauses and add on some pictures. Is it okay, doctor?
I think the main thing is you need to describe your problem a bit more in detail. What is non-compliance? What is the non-compliance specifically?
Because here I have mentioned about the problem, doctor. The pipe support
No.
that has been proposed is not the same as the design in the drawings.
Then you said that it's not even there. So how? What am I supposed to be thinking now? It's not as the same as the design, or is it not same as the what? Just now you tell me that they didn't even do the pipe support. So how?
Yeah, they didn't do the pipe support. They just positioned it directly.
Then why are you saying that it's not according to the design? The design is the design criteria, talking about different parts of the design that they didn't fulfill. Not doing it is not, it's a complete omission.
I see. Maybe I just wrongly explain it here lah.
Yeah, I said your explanation doesn't give me enough of information to understand your problem. What is non-compliance here? If it's not the same as the drawing or it's differing, don't use the word not the same. It's really, really very, very pasar kind of language, not the same. It should be like deviate where is the deviation? Like what Clarence they all did is like, okay, these are the tested reports. What is stated in the specification? The deferment is this much, you see? The
Okay.
deviation is this much. You have to be very clear. You are generally touching the surface, like macam like twinkling on the water, ding dong, and then you write the solution. Then you are giving yourself a lot of leeway to write the solution, you see. The apa solution pun boleh lah kan, because you're not talking about, you didn't even tell us where the problem is properly.
Okay.
So your whole part 3 is like, for me, it's just like, can go, touch and go, touch and go. And by the time we finish, we don't even know what exactly is the problem. So whether the solution is right or not, I can't tell. Also, yeah. Okay, so be very specific about the problem, especially you as engineers, you should know technically how to spell out the problem.
All right.
Spell out the problem, and then you will start to see that there are some relevant clauses that are applicable or not, you see. It's because you yourself are not specifying the problem properly, then you yourself cannot even know what are the clauses that are relevant, you see.
Yeah. Okay.
Parents, your emoji, your hand emoji, can you find a way to close that emoji, yeah? Because I keep on seeing that hand emoji. Okay, thank you. All right, I think we've got
Thank you,
everybody
doctor.
covered already, huh? So yeah, you can email me anytime, but like I say, Monday and Tuesday, I'm a bit packed. I've got a few things coming up that really urgently need my attention. Because what happens is sometimes you may think that, Dr. Ting was so busy, you cannot answer me. You only take 5 minutes, you see. Because sometimes part of my work requires my focus and attention completely. If I lost that attention, just to read through your work quickly, it doesn't help either way. So normally I would just want to finish my certain tasks completely first, because if it's a very urgent thing that needs my attention, like maybe submitting some reports or writing some reports or something like that, I really prefer to just focus on that first before I have time to sit down and look at your things as well, because your assignments also need proper attention, you see. Sometimes like what happened with Natia the other day, I quickly out of one of my meeting, I actually run out to just take a look at her assignment, and then you see I kind of like missed the part that I read the word extension and I thought that was extension of time already, and I thought she repeated the two things. So I also don't want that to happen. I also want to give you my full attention when it's time. So yeah, Monday and Tuesday I'm a bit packed. Very, very packed. There are some reports that I need to do, and I need to sit down and write it properly. So yeah, so I don't think I will reply to anybody's messages. So except for Fazana, because Fazana, your RP normally I will deal with it because that is very, very urgent, you see. Other than all these small assignments, I can actually deal with it after I finish my things.
Doctor, can I send my chapter 3 by tomorrow, doctor? Because I have done it, but
Can why not?
I haven't
By
let you check.
tomorrow,
Okay. Okay, can.
you can say any time. It's just how fast I can respond for me. No, normally I
Okay,
only
right.
respond to you on Monday, huh?
Yeah.
Because normally I try to make it first thing in the morning when I reply my RP students, because that is the time that I'm fresh enough to look at it and my brain is not already being all bogged down by a lot of things, you see. You guys don't understand how tired it can be sometimes with all this talking and all this, with all this talking, with all this using my brain, I can be really, really suck out my energy sometimes, yeah. Right. So yeah, I will deal with it first on the Monday morning. I try huh?
Okay, can, doctor.
Okay, so you better off your mic because I think there's some echoes here. All right, now we've only got 1 hour trying to finish up our notes. I'm already feeling a bit, like out of breath already trying to talk about these things. I think the main problem is I've been talking too much this week. Too many classes, too many workshops and all that, to a point that I get even sick of myself talking, kind of. I don't know if you know how it feels, sick of myself actually. All right. Last week we didn't finish one of my part here. Okay. About the last bit here, which maybe some of you, I already tell a lot of you, don't talk about your case study 3 first, because there are certain things that I haven't explained yet, in my course, in this section of my notes, you see. But a lot of you are just like very gung-ho, you want to finish your assignment 3, but I don't know why you don't want to do your assignment 2 first, assignment 4 first on payment. You see, payment, I've already explained it in my previous where's my record? Wait. Share screen. Okay, wait. Okay, now our part here, yes, this is my screen. Finally share it. I almost go on talking without sharing screen. So yes, what happened is we didn't finish talking about our non-compliances and quality issues, you see, and many of you are rushing into doing it, and that's why I think this is one of the reasons why some of you couldn't detect what are the clauses relevant, you see, in these particular sections on non-compliances. So one of the issues that we haven't spoke about is pre-contract visits, you see. A lot of the contract actually asks the contractor to do pre-contract visits and surveys. Normally, topography surveys will be done by the client. It has to be provided by the client during the design stage. So that one is not an issue, but contractors are requested to go and do certain site survey work, as in just to go around, have a look, you know, and do your own testing if you really feel it's necessary, you know, and maybe bring along a surveyor to see where are the low points, high points before you actually proceed to work, you see. So it is the responsibilities of the client to provide some basic information about the site, such as the boiler or water table, topography studies, in order for the contractor to proceed with the work. And the client also would like to state that even though they provide such information, it is still the duties of the contractor to check the site before they actually quote or tender. So if you say that the client give me all this information, I follow accordingly, and now I've got a problem, it is not my problem, then I'm so sorry. It's not going to be like that, okay? So pre-contract visits is very, very important. So if there's any discrepancy, I think in the contract clauses, you need to look at under the discrepancy. So whenever you find that the drawing and the site visits actually have discrepancies, or the work on site actually is discrepancies from the drawings or the BQ or the specifications, you really, or the information that was originally provided for by the client, you really need to make an effort to notify on the discrepancies. So you see, in many circumstances in your assignment, let's say it's you yourself is the one who found out the problem, then you must actually notify. You cannot keep quiet, you know, and expect the instructions to come completely from the client side or the SO side supervisors. We use SO. SO is government in a contract. Normally, architects and engineers are the supervisors of the job, which is the SO representative. Again, the reason why we use SO and SO representative as engineers and architects is because they are the one that did the design. So they are the one that knows the design better. So they want to make sure that the designs are, you know, the contractor work according to the designs. If you give any Aban Abu Ali who doesn't do the design to come and supervise the design, it can be very, very, it can be very off. You know, the standard can be very off. You don't know the principle behind the designs. You don't know the logic behind the design. You don't know why it's specified it that way. So yes, it's very important for the SO and the SO representative to be the one supervising the job. So we use the word supervisor a lot, and they're not just like site supervisor, clerk of work, that kind of supervisor, the people who doesn't even finish their diploma, they become supervisor. It's not that supervisor. The supervisors that we're talking about here are proper engineers, okay, and architects. Building works are architects. So now the other part that they need to do after the pre-contract visit is to notify, and during the course of the work, if they find that there's some discrepancies between the drawings and the specification with the original information provided, they have to notify. The actual and the information discrepancies needs to be notified to the SO or the supervisor ASAP. Okay, and what is ASAP? You have to read the contract very carefully, and then how the engineers or SO should respond also is written in the contract. You have to check it through carefully. Then the other part is contractors are actually always asked to set up your site by a proper surveyor. So they will always ask for a registered survey. Nowadays, in the old days, contractor will do their own survey work and then the client will accept. But more and more, especially with civil work, pipeline and all that, the surveying work, they are requested by proper surveyor and they are very expensive. Contractors should also put these charges to properly in their tendering document, and don't expect that your own workers with the theodolite can do the survey work and then that's it, you see. So kalau dia lari, then the sufficient lines, level packs to enable column, piling, footing, civil works, etc. to be done properly should always be set up by the contractor. And the supervisor must do checking. That is part of his responsibility, but does not, even if he do checking, he is not held responsible. At the end of the day, it's still the contractor who has to be responsible for the positioning of the for the boundary, for the setting up, for the pegging and all that. Okay, so it always lie with the contractor. That is what the contract clauses will call for. And now, very, very important issues that comes together with quality is instructions and variation. Okay, instructions is something that is very, very difficult. Instructions can come in many directions. It can come in calling for extra work, or meeting some part of the work, giving instructions technically to resolve some problems and issues and all that. It's also instructions. So the umbrella of instruction is actually very, very big. But I covered that under quality is because if you have a quality issue, the SO really need to give proper instructions or proper NCR. So NCR is part of instructions as well. So if we don't give NCR, if we don't give it's not considered as really instructions per se, but it's more like NCR is informing the contractor that you have not done something, or you have not done something in accordance with the contract. See, so and it can be lumped under instructions because it is also something that goes from some information that goes from the supervisor to the contractor. You get the picture? So then, you see, in government contract, it's given by SO, but again, it's usually done by architect and engineer. The instructions must be, as an officer of the contract, it must be honest, it must be reasonable. So your non-compliance report also have to be honest, have to be reasonable. It has to be, you have to state down what is the actual and what was called for, you see. So you cannot simply say that you don't like something and then you say that it's non-compliance, you see. That's what I'm trying to say. It has to be very reasonable. It has to be very technical. It has to be proven technically. It's not in accordance to one of the documents. Like what writing is doing, it's not in accordance to that two documents, specification documents. So then you need to list it down properly. What is it not in accordance with, you see? Is it not in accordance to your feeling? Not in accordance to your mood? Not in accordance to your liking? Is that professional? It is not, you see. So it has to be not in accordance to the drawings, not in accordance to the site work, the actual work, the actual doing is not in accordance with the drawings, it's not in accordance with the design. And when we talk about design, what part of the design to be very specific, you see? Is it because it's not according to the standard of the design? If it's not, and not in accordance can also be not in accordance to the report, testing, inspection. So how do you find out about non-conformance? It's always through testing and inspection. Inspection, definitely. And inspection, when you go for eye inspection, or you go for that visual inspection is always the first signal that something is not right. And then you go for further inspection into using some very basic tools, equipments, and all that, rulers or whatever. And then after that, you will go to even more extensive, like laboratory kind of testing to double check on non-conformance. Again, these instructions that is given for non-conformance have to be very clear, very specific. What was the mode of finding out the non-compliances? Through inspections, through measurement, through testing, through the review of documents. Then you realize that what was not in compliance, and not in compliance with what? Drawings, the BQ, the specifications, okay? And then what? See? So then the non-compliance is given out as instructions to do what? Is it to do rework? Is it to do repair? Is it to do everything all over again, or to strengthen, or to add ons, or to omit completely? You see, so the procedures is very, very clear one. Okay, from finding out to resolving. You see, so I think after today's lecture, the comment that I gave you guys just now will all probably start to make sense. You see, because a lot of you don't do that. You just say, oh, it's non-compliance report is failed, notably failed. What notably failed? Sorry, I can't see any note here that is notably failed. You see, not in accordance to the design. But how did you find out it's not in accordance to the design? How did you say that? How did you determine and say that it's not in accordance to the design? Because if you say that, then as a contractor, I also have to come in and prove that I've done it in accordance to your design. Maybe it's your design that is the problem. See? So with a proof of proper non-compliances, then it would be just very unreasonable request to do any repair work or any rectification work. That would incur a lot more cost. And even things like opening up and make good and all that, they all have to have proper evidences of non-compliances. These are very important areas to build up, you know. Otherwise, we are just going to open yourself up for a big, huge dispute case. You understand? Right? So how to what we are talking about here, there's a few aspects. Okay. My concentration here from this paragraph onwards is about varying the work. Okay, this is more on variation. But in terms of non-compliances, they are also more or less fulfilling this sort of procedures as well. Okay, so yeah, so not, upon instructions given or upon receiving, you just replace the word instruction with non-compliances being given and received. The contractor should procedure put forward changes that is required, you know, and then what are the cost and time implications and all that before the proper work to be carried out. Okay, so you understand about non-compliances now. So basically this part here onwards, even though it's applied to variation, but the procedures here and also the work here are actually also related to non-compliances. Again, non-compliances, I repeat, have to really go from proper finding out like what are the technique of finding out on the non-compliances and putting forward the non-compliances based on the discrepancy itself. Like you need to show what was actually called for and what was actually done. And then now, what do you call to do for rectification? And the contractor also need to agree to that rectification work as well. And they need to admit something is wrong here. And then finally, you give a proper, the instructions to rectify needs to be agreed by the contractor before they proceed to do rectification. Otherwise, they rectify and they come back and claim you also no point, right? And then you'll be sort of like going into that dispute of, no, that is not my problem. You know, I did it for a favor to you because actually the design was wrong in the first place. Many circumstances, it was also because the design was actually wrong, or the methods that was called for, or the standards was actually wrong in the first place. So the contractor can also dispute the non-compliances if they want to, meaning that they felt like they have done a good job. But it's just because of your unreasonableness in terms of your instructions or your non-compliances report that is not in accordance. That is a bit over too much, that is not reasonable. Yeah, or that is not being honest because it's your design that is a problem, but you blame it on their workmanship, you blame it on the material. So yes, everything needs to have proof here properly to handle non-compliances. So if let's say contractors are asked to do a variation work, meaning that you want to change the work to something else or improve the work to something else or pick up certain parts, so meaning that the perform a work that is slightly differing from the contract, and the client needs to pay for it, a proper SI or AI, architect instructions, SI site instruction is a must, or SO instructions is a must. Okay. If let's say, basically these instructions here, even though it's unreasonable, the contractor also cannot say that I don't accept or I don't want to do. You see, there's no redress if the instructions is being unreasonable. So this means that the architect, SO, and engineer supervisors is their power that is in question here. So many contracts, to protect the client, they will actually make sure that they list down the power or the limitation of power of the SO, architect, or engineer's instructions. So even though the instructions is being issued to the contractor to do the thing, okay, it needs to be approved by the client. Okay, so there must, in order to limit the power of this architect, so that they don't really simply call for instruction. In a lot of cases, those instructions is to cover up their own mistake in design sometimes, or their own phase and their own, because they make a mistake in giving certain instructions, another instructions to the contractor. So these people are like that one. So you don't be surprised. When you receive those instructions, I would say even more than 50% of those instructions is to cover up something one, to cover up their own problem one. So then if that happens all the time, can you imagine the kind of can you imagine the price the client has to pay? You know, suka-suka nanti got instructions, and you suka-suka hati, not suka-suka, you bodoh-bodoh also go and do the instructions. And then after that you charge the client. And the client said that, oh, because the my representative give you the instructions, I have to pay for it. You see, then your construction cost will be increasing to a point of like really crazy already gone. So this is a way of protecting the client together with the contractor as well. But unfortunately, many contractors don't know this. They are very, very straightforward. They receive the instructions. They thought that this is the formal instructions. I'm just going to do because there is instructions here already. Well, you can accept these instructions, but then you have to write in to talk about the cost implication of these instructions. If there is no cost implication, that means no issue lah, kan? You can just do it lah, huh? Maybe some of the non-cost implication of this, obviously, is that you yourself do the wrong thing, you know, so the instructions come as a non-compliance to get you to rectify and redo it. So that one you do it because you know that is your problem, see? But if let's say you know that it's not your problem and you got instructions to cover up or to open up or to do something or to retest or whatever, then it will involve some cost implication, you know. So in this cost implication needs to be, anything to do with cost implication will need to be approved by the client. This is a specific format that you need to go into. So instructions are normally required in writing. So it has to be evidence. These are evidential reason why whenever instructions comes, it cannot be just oral. Even though oral instructions are actually allowed as evidence in court, but it will be a lot harder, to take a lot more effort to prove that instructions. So what we need to do is, when upon receiving that instructions, let's say it's oral instructions, it has to be formally followed by writing. And within about 7 days, and they force you to do the instruction, they keep on saying, hey, you know, and they keep on asking you to do, but without giving you proper instructions, you can always request those instructions to be properly followed up with the written one. And then if it's not written, you can write in and ask them, you know, write to the client, CC to the contract, CC to the client, CC to the consultant, saying that I was instructed to do this. You know, our company is instructed to do this, and if in our opinion, we shouldn't be doing this, or we should be doing this, and then if we should be doing this, what are the cost implications involved? we seek your approval to issue a proper written instructions or a proper written variation order or a proper written non-compliance report for this matter, to rectify this matter. Because again, non-compliance report is the same, SI is the same thing, okay? It's the same thing. It's about trying to make sure that there is evidence with the instructions. So let's say there's an SI, the non-compliance you receive. It is a direct saying that you are at fault as a contractor. You need to rectify work. But what if it's not your fault? So if you go and do it, means that you already agree to it, meaning that you've already agreed to do it at your own cost, that kind of thing. So if it's not agreeable, then you have to write in, so this effort has to be done. I know many engineers, you just don't like to write and you don't like to make an effort to read the contract carefully, and that is where all the problems comes in later. When you want to claim money and when you are being blamed for a lot of things, you just have to makan it lah with a very sour face. Telang saja lah, apa lagi boleh buat? You sendiri bodoh kan, you didn't even want to clarify. You didn't want to rebuke. You didn't want to say no, So in the first place, once you receive NCR or instruction SI or AI or whatever you need to actually have written evidences. Okay, so upon that, you write by either party, then also write in the validity of the instructions, meaning that if you don't confirm these instructions with me, I will not do the job. And these instructions is only valid for certain days, certain written days. You must put it properly like that. Then it will get them to be worried. So after that, the important thing is write down any cost implications and request for a formal variation or formal NCR. So nothing verbal. So if you already confirm that this is what we need to do to repair or rework or whatever, like what the contractor did with Fazana case, that they proposed proposal, and this proposal that they propose needs to be approved by the client. That is the right way, okay, to rectify. So you don't want it to, you go and rectify, then later on they say salah again, then how? Okay, so make sure that you need to put down, once you get you get a verbal or some form of instructions from the or some form of notification about your non-compliances, it has to be followed up with a proper written instructions from the contractor to the client seeking for confirmation, or a proper proper non-compliance report from the or architect engineers to the contractor, and then you will write back with your rebuke, with your defense, or with your cost of variation. And also write very important part that a lot of people forget is you need to write down how long it will take to do this work and how much time of the contract will be affected because you've instructed me to do this work. You see, so the nature of the change in nature of the work and the performance of the work, you see, the quantity, the changes, the cost, the time due to the alteration, okay, due to the instructions given, all right, requesting for modifications. Then once that is done already, the client needs to issue what we call a proper variation. Okay, of course, NCR, no lah, you need to approve the proposal, for them to do the work or issue the proper NCR lah. Then after that, or proper instructions to carry out that rectification work, you need to receive that from them. Then after that, it will be, this is what we consider in terms of variation, it will be considered as a proper variation order. And only when you have that proper variation order, you do the work, later you submit the payment, the client will have to pay. Okay, so if let's say you don't get that BO and then you don't get paid at the end of the day, and they don't want to pay you, actually most of the time you are on the losing end as a contractor lah. It does not mean that just because of these procedures not being properly done, the situation is completely hopeless, huh? You can always fight for it. Okay. If it's very, very big instructions that actually end up you're losing time, you're losing money, and all that, it's a lot of it's a lot of like a lot of losses involved, then obviously we can go via the the route of a proper legal dispute. I mean, go for legal aspects or disputing a disputing matters to the contract. We still can fight for it, but it's just that the pain of it is going to be starting to be a lot more because when you go down that direction, because you haven't done the proper procedural thing in the first place, you see. So the second part, the fourth part of my notes also is a continuation of variation as well. Right, here there's a further explanation on variation. So variation can be what we call beneficial. It can also be detrimental. Variation is actually quite unavoidable in that sense, in most circumstances, okay? And it can be classified into these two areas. This is talking about proper variation already. Just now one is more on non-compliances and also site instructions, part of site instructions. So once you do receive a variation order, that this can be done because you need to improve the quality, standard of workmanship, reduce costs. In this case, it's nothing wrong you have done, ladies and gentlemen, nothing wrong the contractor has done. It's just that they want to add on more things, they want to add on more specialist or they want you to bring in more specialist contractors or they want you to bring in more quality material It's additional, it's more beneficial for the project, okay? And then those are actually hopefully it usually will involve some form of additional work and you need to pay for those additional work. And of course, there are some detrimental variation whereby they want to cut down on certain things, and then they want to reduce they want to omit or reduce some part of the work due to not enough funding, maybe they really don't have that kind of money, and then that will affect the standard of work, and they request for cheaper materials, for example, because they run out of funding. Normally, that would be the case. So there are many causes for variation, which we've mentioned just now. Correct or not? This dots here. Let me see. Yeah, it's 29. Correct. So once you've got there's many reasons why variations are called for and this is part of the notes that we talk about. Is why we actually ask for variation. And then once you understand the reason behind variation, it can be honest on problem. Mainly a lot of time, be very careful. Variation like NCR, it can be the fault of both parties. Not necessarily all the time is the contractor's fault. Not all the time is the fact that the contractor did not follow the specification. A lot of time is the designer's fault. There is errors, there's omission, or there's specific changes that is requested by the owner and design discrepancy. So these are the part that I really want you to take note of. You need to really find out what is the causes of your variation. It's just not only related to the contractor all the time. Our mentality is always contractor related, especially dealing with non-compliances, okay? So instructions can come because you want to resolve issues that are related to client owner or consultant, you see? So find out how to do this. Find out the reason for the instructions. Find out the reason for the non-compliances. Find out the reason for the variation. Okay. And then after that, the main part is, like what I say, you receive it, you need to write back to actually confirm on your changes in the costing and also the timing of the work. Then from there, we are embarking onto the contractor's own valuation of the variation. Okay, how do you value variation? And this is that there should be formal procedures to use that is used to actually, you see, the formal procedures involve the provision for instructions, and then after that, there's a constitute of a formal request to carry out the work. Then the contractor is then to reply with the implication involved, which is cost and time, and maybe even quality implication, meaning that it may change the quality of the project or the components of the work. So the contractor should only carry out instructions for variation upon receiving a written variation order. I should put this in capital, okay? And from the client, indicating their approval, indicating the client's approval to the variation work and the cost, and all the costs and other implication involved. Be very careful, they approve you the cost, later on they charge you LAD, you jaga also, so they must also approve the rest of the other implication, giving you EOT and all that to carry out the variation work. They are all intertwined with one another. So the client and his representative need to value the contractor's proposed cost. Okay, that is the main thing for variation now. So then what do you do with how do you value? Most QS, I think, will be quite familiar with this. So first, there's two types of way, meaning that you use the contract sum, maybe your whole contract sum, there is work, it comprises of different works, and then you put in the work for piling, 500,000, building, concreting work, 300,000. So based on those contract sum, okay, based on contract sum, you work out on the quantity, and you kind of do a direct division, that kind of thing. So how do you build up with the cost? You use that contract sum and then work backwards to find the work cost of that component. That is the most like 101 way lah, macam, like the most basic way of coming up with it. But normally in every contract, you also have the schedule of rate and the pricing in the BQ also. So that would be a more direct way of searching for the rate from these two areas. It's only when it's not in these two areas, then you look at the contract sum. Okay? So then from there you work out. And the other one is, if that is not at all, you don't want to base it on that, but you base it on a separate pricing issue, like maybe JKR schedule of rate scar, or maybe a CIDB schedule of rates, or maybe some industry standard of schedule of rates. Normally, if the contract has it, we will follow back the contract. But there are circumstances that they actually wanted to follow another separate pricing schedules. Maybe it's due to the project has been dragging on for too long, or maybe it's not covered. Part of it is not covered in, part of it is covered in the contract, but part of it is not. Or it could be a work that is completely not covered in the original contract, so you want to use a separate pricing issue schedule. It's also possible. So what do you do with the pricing then? And how do you calculate it? At the end of the day, it's always quantity and rates, so you need to find out what are the rates that you're using. So it's either you use a contract rate or you use a separate pricing rate. And both have their own challenge, you see. Sometimes when we as a contractor, you know that there may be a variation coming up in certain areas. So you purposely go and put in your schedule those rate very, very high, hoping for a addition, you see. And then let's say provisional work, you purposely put very high rate there so that you can actually earn more money by doing because it's subjected to remeasurement. So you take a lot of your profit and you put it there, so that even if you don't do that much work, you will also gain that much money, you see. So this is some of the tricks that is played with the rates, you see. So not all the time the contract rate itself or the contract sum punya rate, like how you actually work backwards to get from the contract sum to work out on the rate for that particular work, can be accurate, see? So there are times that you may want to base it on a separate pricing list, but obviously, based on the separate pricing list can also have a headache lah, because then it may be a bit too high from whatever that you say in a contract sum. It's stated in a contract sum. So you just have to be very careful. Both has its own advantage and disadvantage. It's a matter of the main thing is contractor will always want to find more ways of adding money. The client want to have always of reducing the final payment that they're going to be making lah, kan, you know. So these are some of the major things that, you know, we are always worried about, okay? And then, okay, like there's two things from tender audit, two pitfalls. One of them is during the audit of tender. You always look at the contract itself. You forgot that the client always didn't really look at the rates in the schedules or pinpoint out certain rates that are important to be added to the schedules, and end up needing to pick up a high rate from a separate schedule. Okay, so that is one of the pitfall that the clients side always do. You keep on looking at the contract sum, you know, you tak jaga you punya rate, you know, the day works the material rates and all that. You tak pergi tengok. And suddenly there is an additional work or omission work. Then everybody start to go and dig for all this rate. Then it's a bit too late already. Okay, so these are the pitfalls for the employer. And then omission. This is the part. Addition always hard. It's easier. Addition is that the contractor will always want to get higher. The client will try to push it down. So it's always a negotiation. But omission, the client obviously want to omit as much as possible sum of money based on the same work that is being omitted. Of course, the contractor doesn't allow so much omission. It's again their own interest here, you see. So there was many cases whereby they could not find the rate for that omission. Then they base it on the contract sum. And the contract sum, obviously that contract sum is expected to be done. So the contractor put in that part of the work. And then when you get the rate from there, it becomes too high. So what does the court say about this, you see? So many times, the court will look at the reasonableness, meaning that if you're going to base it on contract sum and end up just because you deduct a machine or you deduct a material type, half of the contract sum for that part is gone, then that is unreasonable. It means that you cannot base it on that contract sum. So you have to find a separate list to base on. Okay? If the separate list is so high up to a point that, you know, more than half of the contract sum is already all gone after deduction, then it's not reasonable anymore. It's still that reasonableness. I have an example here of this case of KNM, Eon and MT Hogarth, you know, on this case of this contractor. And it's very interesting to see that, you know, because the variation pricing is actually the bar is 150 a day, see? So then the contract sum end up, if they times 150,000 a day times 160 days of the batch, I think the result was the whole work day in the contract sum is practically gone. So then which rate do you base it on? Then the court actually finally looked into saying that they consider the saving that has been achieved, and this can only be assessed by looking at the build up of the contract sum. So they will still follow back and say that if you deduct things out, how reasonable is the deduction as compared to your contract sum? Okay, and the court construed the particular provision in a way that is built up to the value of omission with reference to the contract sum. This is not obviously in accordance with the wording of the variation clauses. So again, that valuation is very, very important. Okay, right. So then other issues here that we are looking at is other things like access to the site. Besides the work occupation site possession, meaning that the contractor needs to be given access, a proper access to occupy the site. That is one umbrella under access to site. we also have to remember that under the contract, provision to the site also has to be provided by the contractor to the client and also SO as superintending officers and their representative, the engineers, architect, and their assistant to assess the work. Okay, so it's both ways. It's not only about giving access in terms of site possession, but access to the work by the contractor, because the contractor already owns the site. He is responsible for all the things that's been going on the site. Okay, they also need to clearly define the contractor's responsibility to provide that access to the. Here I think it's mainly. Yeah, it's about providing. Mostly here I'm writing in accordance with site possession, but we have to remember that it is also the obligation of the contractor to provide a site access, to provide allowance into the site to the client representative, the SO and his assistant and his representative to access the work, to monitor, to value, to do the things that needs to be done during the work. Meaning that even though they give access to these people, they obviously can come, but they have to follow the rules and regulations in the site where the proper gears are. Don't simply step into areas that may be dangerous, and all that, because the contractor will have to be responsible for any accidents, death, or any things that is untoward happening to these people accessing the site. So it's very, very important for us to be careful about that. And obviously, normally we would not simply let anybody come to the site, because if there's any public children play, people come in, it may be causing thefts, death, accidents, and injuries, to the public. So normally we will fence up the site or in many cases with civil work, maybe sometimes we put the pipeline there, you must put blinking lights, you must put in some tapes, like blinking tapes, night tapes, to make sure that we know that this is a dangerous part of the world, so that the public doesn't simply drive into that area and maybe get injured after that. So access is an issue that is about safety in a way. So contractors' obligations is to provide, to prevent any Abang Abu Ali to come to the site. Okay, it also makes sure that they need to give to the people who are allowed to come to the site. So preferably a proper name list is given to the contractor about who is to come to the site. So then his insurance and all that can cover the entire team of people. So if just like anybody suka-suka want to masuk and then got problem, then yeah, that is his problem already. Yeah. But if it does happen, these people come to the site and the contractor did not prevent that, it ends up to be the contractor's problem, So the contractor has to keep very good guard. They must guard the access to the site very carefully. All right, so this is his responsibilities in contract. Design of works is what we also mentioned just now by with Tia just now, or is it with one of those whoever is talking about the designs of work? Yeah, I think it's Fazana. Right. So basically, design of work, contractors sometimes are asked to complete a proposal or to check the existing design or to do some part of the design work that he doesn't think that is actually reasonable. Meaning that I look at the work and I think that it's NCR. I mean, like it's like they said it's non-conformance, but actually it cannot be done according to the drawing. So you want to provide. As an engineer now, I receive as IR teaching certificate, I receive a lot of requests for me to counter propose drawings. Now on site, this has become very strict. In the old days, when the contractor proposed, the client approved, and that's it. And the work will progress. But the contract will always state that even though they approve the drawings or the designs, the contractor will still be held liable. Okay. Now they make things even more simple. They get a PE to certify the counter proposal, the checking on the existing design. If the contractor wants to check and disagree, they must have their own engineers, they must have their own PE to actually take responsibilities for that counter proposal. Okay, so that is how we have been going about doing this. Meaning that, like, let's say in Fazana's case, in the old contract, it's just submit and then the client approve. But a lot of the client now would just simply request the contractor to provide a proper certified, PE certified drawings and calculations and design, whether it's NCR, whether it's instructions, whether it's counter proposal, whether it's checking on the existing design, or whether it's providing a specific design for the project for constructability reasons and all that. Why the contractor cannot use whatever is designed by the client, by the SO, or by the architect or the engineers, they put in their proposal as a counter proposal. They must have a proper PE to actually, they are obligated now to be fully taking responsibilities for their design of works. Okay, understand now? Any questions so far? I'm rushing to finish up this as much as possible because I've got to go to the next class, you see. And then suspension of work. Okay, this is already considered as remedy. Remedy, termination, and suspension. Suspension of works is something that is really like a long story. I'm trying to cut a long story short here. Actually, contractor cannot simply suspend the work. Under the suspension in general is about stopping construction work before the completion of all the contractual activities in the contract. There's no common law right that allows suspension of works, but however, there are some contractual and statutory provision. Okay, meaning that there are some contract that states down suspension of work. So you have to be very clear. Some contract has it, some contract don't have it. Suspension of work is actually a right that is given to the owner because they want to suspend the contractor to stop them from working on certain part of the work. Okay, and it could be due to their incompetency. It could be due to their behavior. It can also due to some external reasons, like for example, national security. For example, COVID. The contractor says because of COVID, the site is not working. I suspend your work. So only the owner can suspend the work. There's no contractor to suspend the work. You're thinking like, oh wow, you know, I never know that, isn't it? I mean, it is true, you know, a lot of the contract will say that due to the failure of contractor to do certain work or perform or to bring in good bring in standard work, standard material, then obviously it cannot be so simple lah. Suka have to suspend people's work. Then it must be done procedurally, which is also explained in the notes later on. That you really need to go through entire procedures because the key thing is the contractor main responsibility is to do the work with due diligence, honestly, carefully with due diligence. So with that clause already served, the contractor cannot suspend the work because if you're suspending your own work, means that you're not doing the work. You know, when you're not doing the work, you are already breaching the contract. So because of that sentence in all the contract, the contractor should work with due diligence. Any suspension of work from the contractor is a breach of contract, but it's definitely for the client, especially due to national security, due to certain issues, due to big national issues, or due to strikes, labor strikes, many external issues. The contractor can choose to suspend the work, and then, or sometimes due to their own financial maybe reasons, they want to suspend the work. And then followed by maybe the contractors are doing a lot of funny, hanky-panky, unreasonable things, or the contractor go bankrupt, or the contractor is in the verge of committing a criminal act or something like that. Then he chooses to suspend the work. So there are many degrees of seriousness in suspension. But if you just talk about the contractor being lazy, he's not coming to work enough, I want to suspend your work. It's not so easy, you understand? But as you escalate the span of time that you can suspend the work, or the speed of how you can suspend the work, really depending on the seriousness of the issues here involved. Okay. So because of any provision contractually to suspend the work on the contractor general does not have the right to suspend the work, even though the employee itself is in a breach like payment. So many of you are asking that if they don't pay, I can suspend the work. The answer is no. Because if they don't pay, your work is to work regularly and diligently. You can actually you can actually make claims for payment. You can even send lawyer letters, but you cannot stop working. So suspension of works by the contractor is a breach of condition that may lead to a reparatory breach. Reparatory breach means that it's a fundamental breach to your contract. Okay, as there's no common law that entitles a contractor to suspend work. So without any express terms and contract, cannot suspend the work. Otherwise, the contractor will be held liable for breaching the entire contract. If the non-payment issue is so serious, then basically just ask for termination of the contract, and then you work out what is not being paid, and then properly go through the legal procedures of getting the payment back. But the thing is, if the client suspend the work, they need to pay the contractor for all the work that has been done. Only the one that not done, they cannot pay. But the work that is done, they must pay. So that's why it's fair also, if the client suspend your work, they must pay you. But if you suspend the work as a contractor, you are breaching a contract, you will not be paid for any work, Okay, and then you may be sued for, you may be not sued, you may be accused of delaying, you may be accused of they may charge you LAD, and then or they are just going to say that basically you didn't carry out your contractual rights. Your contractual duties in the right way. Okay, so if the contractor does not choose to terminate the contract, okay, must continue to carry out the works. Okay, so effects of suspension. I think if we want to be a bit quick here, this is about once you talk about effects, it's about cost recovery, So time and cost recovery. That you have to remember when you come to suspension of work, not only we're talking about money issue, we're also talking about time issue here, especially time issue, And then the procedures of how to treat suspension. Then you have to go through the procedures of tracking all the costs involved, putting in the instructions. You have to go through many verbal, many written, many especially for the contractor not working like what you like to, and you want to suspend. That one really takes a lot of documentation, a lot of notification, a lot of warning letters, written warning letters before you can activate this this suspension. And the documentation needs to be very complete for you to execute the suspension. So you don't go around the site and tell people that I will suspend your work because you're not working hard enough. You can't do that. But like I said, if it's a seriousness cause, like maybe COVID, or maybe there's a war, a bomb is about to drop on site, so you need to suspend the work, or there's some natural disaster happening, you need to suspend the work over a period of time, because of the natural disaster. Many of the work are actually being destroyed. Yeah, so then you need to suspend the work to rework on the contract and all that. Then these are a lot easier, you see. But then if we talk about just contractor not doing their due diligence, and then you want to suspend, then the procedures, contract procedures, and the documentation have to be very, very careful. Not only what is written there in the contract, but you need to look into the implied laws and any legal precedents in the local jurisdiction, the state, and the statute, that were involved in suspending work, you see. So it has to be, there's no law saying that, but what we say is local jurisdiction and state, meaning that there may be some, like maybe council star, you know, some government way of doing this, then we can refer to that, right? So these are talking about some of the cases on suspension of work, and then end up, these are the cases that I'm trying to prove to you that contractor cannot simply suspend the work. You see, a lot of court will just make it the fault of the contractor when they suspend the work because of non-payment, right? Termination obviously can be just practically ending the contract and no further action will be required. So the client can terminate the construction contract if the contractor default and therefore fail and also fail to cure such default, like non-compliances, not doing the work, not remediating the deficient work, failure to meet the construction schedule. So by default, but again, procedures. It's not that simple. Okay, then that is default, but contractor can also terminate because the client is not paying, and then find ways of getting the money back through other legal means. Then the third is about termination because of, it's a mutual termination, meaning that both agree to terminate the work because of some mandatory government national security issues that you need to terminate the work. Okay, and then there is also convenience. Terminate the construction contract upon written notice for convenience and without any cause. Yeah, so owner can also, because of his own reason, let's say he doesn't have enough money to finish a job, so he wants to terminate everything. So he felt that it's not the right reason, the houses are not selling, the properties are not selling, so he terminates the contract. It's possible you can do that, but they must properly compensate. So it's termination via convenience, termination via default, mutual termination. Yeah, so these are the few ways of that. And then of course the final termination is done performance by performance, means that finish contract already. So that kind of termination is actually full completion. We also lump it under termination, but it's a happy termination, meaning that the contractors are, both owners and contractors are released of their responsibilities. Okay, yes. So what else? So I have to stop here today. There will be another part there'll be some other part, like 2 more parts that I haven't covered. Cover is nominated suppliers and subcontractor. And maybe I will look into some of the procedures for termination in the coming weeks, just to finish up this part of the lecture. All right, thanks guys. Let me share with you the attendance if you need to key in attendance. And any more attendance? Sorry, I have another class to go to, so I have to bye you first. So if you have any question, please read through the notes first. There's a lot of things here actually, and I think it will help you with your writing for your NCR later, the testing, the non-conformance bit. And I've also got some clauses underneath that note that is under there, somewhere talking about how do you deal with non-compliances and all that. The part 3 notes I've posted already have all the JKRs or form of contract clauses that deals with things like plant, machinery, material, cost, opening up, and also etc. All related clause with quality. Then today one is going to be clauses that are related to termination, valuation of variations, nominated subcontractor, insurances, and all that. So I've always put under my notes example from JKR Sarawak form of contract. So you can refer to that when you are looking at the clauses that are relevant to your own contract. But of course, I could have missed out on something. You also need to go to the contract and try to find out more yourself, okay? But mine is there as a guideline already. So if you have any questions, I have to say we need to talk about it next week, Okay,
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, so for those of you who hasn't shown me your assignment will be due very soon. Just email me lah, before we can discuss about it next week when we meet in class. Okay, tomorrow. I forgot about tomorrow. Hello, guys. Are you still here?
Yes, doctor.
So tomorrow at 2 p.m., you guys join me for clocking in, just to check in your attendance. And if you still have any question or assignment, I think I'll take another 30 minutes or 1 hour to answer any question on your assignment. If no more, then that's it. I will post the pre-recorded lecture. It's about 80 to 100 minutes of pre-recorded lectures, which you need to listen to it during tomorrow during class, or you want to listen to it over the week, it's all up to you. But that pre-recorded lecture has nothing to do with the assignments. It's on the law of tort and negligence. Okay, so you can listen to it anytime now. Yeah. So tomorrow 2 p.m. I will see you guys. All right. See you. Bye bye.
Okay, doctor. Thank you, doctor.
Thank you,
Thank you.
doctor.
Thank you, doctor.